And welcome to Unsung Heroes of the Cloud, episode 5. I'm here with Nils and Mike, and our first guest, Camila Martins. She's a program manager on the customer experience team, and she's focused on network security. And I'll turn it over to all of you all. Let's tell us about your favorite unsung hero.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Matt. And Mike, I don't know how you feel, but I am super excited that we are having a first guest here. How do you feel?
Oh yeah, and again, she works on a part of the security team. How cool is that? I mean, that's one of my favorite angles in Azure, where I love to spread love and all the passion and all the things. So, and I think she probably will do an awesome job today. I'm really excited, Camila, that you're with us. Thank you for joining us. It's really fun to be having you as a first guest, actually.
I am very happy to be here, and I am surprised I'm the first guest. I'm very excited about it. Let's see. Let's see if I can set the bar high up here. Maybe we'll see.
Well, actually, you have to jump high. It's like real low the bar. So.
Oh no.
Yeah. But I will say, Camila, you and I did some work together with a customer, and just because of your awesomeness with that customer, I thought you would be a perfect fit for our show. So before we jump into the technology, you want to share a little bit about yourself with our guests and what you like to do for fun?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. For fun, I do a little too many things. Maybe I need to stop. But I'll give you the most recent one. It is springtime, so I've been very busy beekeeping. It's the bees are coming out of winter, so normally they stay inside of their hives, they're quiet, and now the flowers are blooming, there's nectar everywhere, there's pollen everywhere, so they're back on track to capture all of the goodies and make some honey. So I've been taking care of them, making sure they're happy, healthy, and they have enough space to grow.
That is so cool. It's so important too.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
It's important. It's cool. Although I will say I'm still a little afraid of them, but it's out of respect. They're beautiful, intense, and it is really nice to spend some time outdoors and working with the bees.
Yes. And let's say to the theme of our show, bees are really the unsung heroes of nature.
Exactly. They have
and
such an
remember, all
ecological
bees.
impact.
Yeah, all bees and all insects and pollinators, butterflies, flies, everything. Everybody focuses sometimes a little bit on the honeybees. Of course, they matter, but all of them matter.
Solitary bees, for instance, very important.
Especially.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pretty cool. So how many hives do you have?
I have 5 hives. I'm
5
a hobby
hives.
beekeeper. Yeah, it's too.
Yeah, but that's a lot.
It is a lot. I love them, and I know when they're healthy, they multiply. So that's how they reproduce. And then I was like, oh no, am I going to end up with like 60 hives? I keep foreseeing the future. It's like, because they keep doubling and doubling. You go from 5 to 10, from 10 to 20, and 20 to, I don't even know. I was like, oh no, I've got to be careful with that. So who knows? Maybe it's my retirement plan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's a big business in bees. I live in California, and I know that in our Central Valley, they have bees shipped in from all over the country just to pollinate all of the almond trees. So there is a retirement plan for you there, Camila. But before we talk about retirement, you had something amazing to share with us today about the cloud.
Yes, what else keeps you busy? Sorry.
Oh my, yeah, good one. I work with Azure Network Security specifically for my role, but the things I'm going to share today are applied to anything you're doing in Azure. So any of the Azure resources that you're doing in regards to logging. For anyone that needs to have an idea of what's happening to their resources and maybe performing some types of investigations because something happened, we need to make sure those diagnostic settings are properly configured. So I'm going to give some tips on where to look, maybe get an overarching view of your current state, and a couple of tips on how to maybe enforce and have some governance on top of those to make sure they're consistently configured. That way you are not surprised when maybe an incident happened or investigating something, you're like, oh, I don't have the logs, which I just assumed I had. There's a lot of assumption there that they are just there by default, and they are not. We got to go out of our way and make sure we properly configure those.
Okay, and could you clarify maybe for our audience which logs are there by default and which logs you have to enable?
Yes. So in Azure, there are 2 types of logs. They are the activity logs and the diagnostic logs, or sometimes they say resource logs. The activity logs, it's equivalent to something like those audit logs we have, back in the data center days. So it's like if somebody turned something on or off, you're going to get that. If somebody added a node to something, you're going to have a log. It's administrative. It's admin actions.
The log of shame.
Right. It's like, oh, Camila logged in at 3 p.m. and then she edited a policy somewhere, and those are administrative logs.
Yeah.
The logs I'm talking about are a resource. So these ones are in Azure by default. You can adjust them, but they're there. The ones that are not there are the actual data plane logs instead of the control plane logs. They are the activity that the resources are performing for you because it's their function. So for example, if I have I'll give you Azure Firewall since it's my area, it's a little simpler. If I have a Windows Virtual Desktop, I'm a user and I'm typing it out, I want to go to a website, and there will be a firewall rule that allows me to go to that website. It's actually, those logs are not going to exist. So if I went to a certain website and got hacked or something and I want to track that back, that log does not exist by default. You have to enable them. Those are the diagnostic settings. Those are the resource logs. So the firewall can say, hey, this computer source actually went to this destination on this port at this time, and it was allowed or it was denied. And again, I'm giving you an example of a firewall log, but this could be literally like a storage account. So if you are using blob storage and you have files, somebody overwrote a file for you. Somebody downloaded all of your files, so you know that they got deleted. You know that they got written on. You know that they got copied over. Those are logs that would be there for you only if you actually configure them.
Okay. And then you were ready to show us some cool ways on how you can manage that at scale?
Yes, I am. Let's see. Do I know how to share? So if I share my screen, it should be showing at some point.
Yes.
Yes.
There we are.
Okay. So I'm going to make it a slightly bigger. So one of the ways that I wanted to show is just giving everybody just like a big broad view of what's going on. So if we go to Azure Monitor, which is one of the various administrative tools that we have in Azure, we can see in here all the way down an option called diagnostic settings. So in this diagnostic settings area, I'm going to start filtering down here. But what it's going to tell you is what your diagnostic status is. So right here, we can see some of them are disabled and some of them are enabled. So basically, and there you go. Some of them are not available. But it gives you that idea of, hey, where am I standing with this? So if you come here and you're like, most of our breaches sometimes are related to storage accounts, for example. People get copy data out. If let's say if something happened with this storage account and I wanted to get a timeline, I wanted to, I want to know, hey, who accessed what and when? Give me at least a ballpark of when this threat actor was accessing this account. I wouldn't even know that. No. So why? Because I don't have those details here. And then you make those choices. Do I care? Do I not care? But be aware that don't assume that you're going to have access to that information. Let me filter through on one of my resource groups here because I want to give you an example of my environment. So this is my environment here. It's all kind of networky. It's a little more focused on the network tools. But like if I were to check my public IP addresses specifically, I have 3 public IP addresses here, and 2 of them are enabled for diagnostic settings, and 1 of them is not. So if something that relates to my public IPs happen here, I would be able to report on these 2 on top, but not this bottom one. So if something happened with my Bastion public IP, I probably wouldn't get any visibility on it. And each type of resource that we're talking about, the logs will vary. So like I was saying, for the storage account example, I think it's read, write, maybe copy. They have specific log types. The public IP address that I chose as an example here, it's more specific to denial of service attacks. So one of the things that are pretty cool is that this works for any of our resources. When you click on the resource diagnostic settings, these items right here are the types of logs that we can get. So I know that for a public IPs, which kinds of logs can I get? I can get the DDoS related ones and the metrics related ones.
Okay, that's cool. And I do have a question for you. Is there an easy way to, for instance, automatically enable these diagnostic logs?
Yes, and I will go back to this because I had one. I want to say one more thing, but yes, and it's super cool. Since I'm already on this topic, this can happen with any resource. If you're using Azure Policy, you can use Azure Policy to enforce this, and you can do it in a couple of ways. I'll go into a few more details before I can talk and type at the same time. But Azure Policy is cool because it works in a couple of different ways. So you're going to choose what you're going to enforce from that moment on. And you can also choose to remediate things that are out of compliance, like backwards, So let's say I was saying the public IP addresses. I have one public IP address today. I go there, I configure that. But no one stops today. Tomorrow, there's another admin. We create a new service.
Yeah.
Right? Are they going to remember to do that? No. Who knows?
Nope.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Azure Policy can do it in a few ways. You can do an automated remediation. So basically, you create the policy whenever someone creates a new public IP. It's already going to be created with that setting for them. It's one way of doing it. Or you can do an audit mode. So it's going to let people know that they should be enabling that feature. And then they can do a remediation task on it just to go back in time and remediate the resources that are not configured exactly like we wanted them to. So you can, and then from that moment on, everything else will be configured properly. But I have one here in I think definitions. If we type, and we have a bunch that are already built in. So for example, if I search for logs, let me make it a little bigger. Oops. So right here's a few examples. So if I'm using data lake, I want to make sure those resource logs are enabled. Here, if I have logic apps, I want to make sure those resource logs are enabled. And we have, this is the one for the example that I was giving for DDoS protection. This is for my public IPs. I want to make sure that my public IPs have their resource logs enabled. There you go. So it just, you create your assignment from here, and you can apply this to different scopes. So technically, you can apply it just to certain subscriptions or all subscriptions. It's got all kinds of customizations you can do. But that is one way of ensuring things stay configured in the long run the way you desire. And you don't have to worry about manually going to each resource and enabling those settings.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. Thanks for showing that.
That's cool. Indeed. It makes it easier and also for follow-up, because you can see which policies have been applied to which environment or to which initiative. So that's really, really useful in that matter. And I got a question for you. When we talk about diagnostic settings, I typically get the question from partners or from customers, do we need to have them all? Because there's so many things that you can select up there. Do we need to have them all, or do we save a buck by, skipping a little bit? What's your preference there? Because as somebody who preaches this, you probably will have something there that will, give that little balance into the positive or the negative.
Yes, I have to say I am a security person. So it's a bad person to ask this to.
No.
Well, because my role is, 100% security, and I've been working in security for quite a while, which is, I don't know how, but like 14, 15 years. We are always going to say you have to have them all, because we're always with that fear of what's going to happen. And then I need to be able to go back. I need to be able to do a post-mortem on my incident. Especially if we do go through a hack scenario, we're like not being able to report, not being able to provide, be sure and say we were under attack for this period of time, or only up to this amount of systems. Without logs, you can't come up and create those statements. But with that said, it all goes back to a little bit of risk analysis. So it is, well, should you enable every single thing? Probably not. For example, flow logs on NSGs, they are a lot of logs. They are very hard to analyze. They're very hard to aggregate. They're actually hard to make a sense out of them. So, and they will be very large in amounts. So I wouldn't say, unless you have a good team that makes good sense of them, it's probably going to cost you a lot of storage money for not a lot of benefit. If you don't have the, like really a qualified team that knows how to aggregate that information. But go back to that risk analysis. What are my systems? What threats am I mostly worried about? Do those logs even provide me the information I would be looking for? Sometimes you have logs, but you don't have the details you need. Create a couple of queries. Try to create a couple of reports. Would that help you in an event that you have to troubleshoot something? And once you make that decision, you know which ones you need and which ones you don't need. But it is right? It's an educated decision. And by the way, I know logs cost money to store and index and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Logs can be in Azure. Logs can be generated from Azure and shipped to a different log source of your choice. All of that is available. But risk matters because, well, the cost of my logs, what does that mean to the cost of a breach?
Exactly.
So it's like
totally agree. Yeah.
Business has to work together with the IT on this and with security on this. That's the key.
Yeah, and it's a responsibility of everyone. Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would also
time, I wanted to show one more thing. It's kind of silly.
Oh, sure.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I interrupted you, but
oh no, not at all. We can talk about anything that comes up. So remember when I was in the diagnostic settings and then I was showing you those categories. Let's see, where was I? Like something like this. These categories, they actually map directly to a KQL query on your log analytics. So if I wanted to do a search in my log analytics workspace here, onto logs, if people were doing categories, and this is cool because it works for every resource here. Oh, I have an example here. So it would be the exact wording that is in your diagnostic settings will be mapped as a category in your KQL query. So if you ever want to create any queries specific to a service here, that's a good start to know. You can find this information in our docs, Microsoft Docs and stuff, but just being able to see them right there, you don't have to go look, you just have to parse through, and if you filter through, all of those logs will appear for you right here.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, that was it.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I like that.
Yes. That was fun. And this is already the second time we've had KQL in our Unsung Heroes.
It shows the importance.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you, Camila. I don't know if you have anything else for today, Mike, but I want to thank you for being our very first guest. This was an amazing Unsung Hero because, as you said, those logs can really add a lot of value. Even before a breach, they can be super valuable. So thanks for sharing that today. Do you have anything else, Mike?
Yeah, and I also want to say that even not only the service that she was talking about, but also Camila is an unsung hero because, first of all, she's the first guest that we have, but also she's not a publicly visible person inside of the organization. That's also very important for me because now we actually show somebody is actually working with the products, working with our customers, working with the product teams, and actually bringing more value to everybody. So that's really cool. So for me, for the day, you're also our unsung hero. So thanks again.
Thank you very much. It was great being here, guys.
Yes. Thank you.
Really,
see you all.
Really enjoyed it. Bye.